arable for agricultural purposes. However, Honorable Speaker, Article 39 and Article 40 of the Constitution is expressly clear that any attempt to encourage or use any legislative means to move people from one region to another so that to decongest one region might be unconstitutional. Second, Honorable Speaker, the right to property is enshrined in the Constitution and it's a basic human right. Therefore, any attempt to encourage or to force people to even desist them from subdividing their land is obviously going to be challenged. But Honorable Speaker, it's obviously true that this country has got a lot of parcels of land, endless kilometers of land that can be put into arable use with irrigation. But Honorable Speaker, with our endemic corruption, where even money meant for irrigation purposes is stolen, we have a long way to go. We do hope the petition will address those issues so that we go back to the right path. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Dawood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Although I wanted to speak to the next one, but even this one, Mr. Speaker, I don't know how we are going to get the funds for what the petitioner has said, because, Mr. Speaker, we have the equalization fund as well, which for the past 7 years has not even worked because has not been disbursed, regulations are not there. So, Mr. Speaker, getting people into enclaves so that they move out of arable, good land, which is for farming, I think it is very difficult to take people away from where they normally stay. And Mr. Speaker, that is a tall order. So I do not support this petition because we have to be practical. Some things cannot be done just for the sake of doing it because there is no money for that. And equalization fund needs to come out, go to each and every area which is facing hardship. So, Mr. Speaker, I do not support this petition.
Member for Bondo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think, Mr. Speaker, some of us are misconstruing the whole idea that was brought by the petitioner. The petitioner acknowledged that there's a lot of pressure in the potential areas, what he was calling the arable lands. But he's also acknowledging that there's a lot of space that is outside there in semi and arid areas. So he's trying to encourage, if there are investments that can go into those arid and semi-arid lands, then it will ease the pressure that is in the potential areas. And I think it's not an idea that you want to move communities like maybe Dr. Undo is proposing or Dawood is proposing. The whole idea is these are things that are going to happen naturally. People have moved towards Kitale, people have moved to these potential areas by their own choice. Nobody moved them. But now we are saying, because there are potential areas, can we make the other areas also to be potential such that people move out of their own volition, not that they are moved by some kind of a scheme. Mr. Speaker, Wajir is in one of those potential, those areas that has the potential. I know, in Wajir, you are not even allowed by public law that you cannot do a pit latrine because there's enough water. Water is really up. You only need some little infrastructure arrangement for that water to be used. So, Mr. Speaker, it is these potentials that I think the petitioner is asking out for, so that if we utilize them, the pressure will be eased by people moving to those low potential areas, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this petition is significant and it raises matter of national importance. The reason why population in arid and semi-arid areas is low, one of it is because of development. Secondly, there's no water. Thirdly, is insecurity. People will tend to follow development and opportunities. And I think from what the petitioner is posing, once we put resources into those areas, people will automatically go there because opportunities will arise. So for that reason, although Article 204 of our Constitution on Equalization Fund has not been realized, I think also putting legislative agenda on this matter is important. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Tongaren.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the petition. Mr. Speaker, I think what the petitioner is pointing out to us as a nation is that we need to plan for the future. So what he's saying is should not be criticized, but rather should be taken in our stride, especially as the National Assembly, as we plan for the future of this country. Because indeed, the arid and semi-arid areas cover the largest portion of this country, and right now there's a lot of moves to do a lot of oil exploration, and we know the cost, what oil exploration does to land. So he wants to restrict that so that we can use that land for the future generation. But Mr. Speaker, that having been said, we also must admit that once we have sufficient urbanization, we'll still free up a lot of agricultural land if we aim at industrialization and urbanization of our people. Mr. Speaker, I support the petition.
Member for South Imenti.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I wish to submit 2 petitions from South Imenti constituency. Or maybe, Mr. Speaker, you wanted me to talk to the previous petition.
Sorry, I know you have, you may submit your petitions.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a public petition number 013 of 2022 regarding the land subdivision and gazettement of Imenti South Sub-County in Meru County into 3 sub-counties. I, the undersigned, on behalf of over 24,493 concerned residents of Imenti South Sub-County in Meru County, draw the attention of the House to the following. That Imenti South Sub-County was established and upgraded into a district in 2005 by Gazette Notice number 9143, volume C7, number 79, written 16th November 2005, and that Imenti South is also an electoral constituency in Kenya, spanning an area of 393 square kilometers. That in its current form, Imenti South Sub-County are 6 wards with a population of 206,506. This is as per the 2019 census, and 107,406 voters as per the 2017 IMBC register. That at a meeting of South Imenti leaders held at Kaguru Farmers Training Center on 25th February 2019, the Deputy County Commissioner reported that the government's decision and made a decision to split South Imenti into 2 subdivisions. The leaders proposed that the division be split into 3 sub-counties instead, and the resolution was forwarded to the Minister of Interior and coordination of national government. That on 9th June 2021, again, Imenti South leaders and the general community held another public participation meeting at Kaguru Farmers Training Center with the Deputy County Commissioner again, who is responsible for Imenti South Sub-County, in attendance, and resolved that Imenti South be split into 2 sub-counties. The resolution was forwarded again to the Minister of Interior and coordination of national government. Number 5, that no issue in relation to subdivision and gazettement of Imenti South Sub-County into 3 sub-counties is pending in any court of law, legal or constitutional body. Number 6, that due to drain, subdivision and gazettement of Imenti South Sub-County, residents have lost a lot in terms of resource allocation and employment opportunities, including recruitment to security and defense forces. Therefore, your humble petition has put it to this House through the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security to cause the national government, through the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior, and coordination of national government, to number 1, uphold the resolution of Imenti South Public Participation Forum held on 25th February 2019 at Kaguru Farmers Training Center, recommending that Imenti South Sub-County be split into 3 sub-counties, namely Imenti South Sub-County, comprising of Nkwene and Mitungu divisions with headquarters at Inkobo, Imenti West Sub-County, comprising of Egozi East and West divisions with headquarters at Yegoji, and the Imenti East sub-county, comprising of Abogeta East, Egoki, and Abogeta West divisions, with the headquarters at Kanyakine. And if not possible, to follow the 9th June 2021 public participation that recommended the spirit of 2 sub-counties. Therefore, the prayer number 2 is that after the Imenti South sub-county is spread and immediately gazetted and post permanent deputy county commissioners to the 3 new sub-counties. And your petitioner will have a plea presented by Kaduri Murungi, MP, South Imenti constituency. The second one, Mr. Speaker, I will try to shorten and just capture maybe 1 or 2 sentences because it is a long one. And we have a lot of business to transact this afternoon. This is again public petition number 012 of 2022 regarding the gazettement of Igoki Division in Imenti South Sub-County, again in Meru County. Either undersigned on behalf of over 6,257 concerned residents of Imenti South Sub-County in Meru County, draw the attention of the House to the following: that Igoki Division, location now division, was created in 1914 by the colonial government alongside Nkwene, Abogeta, and Egoji, forming the then Imenti South Division. I will skip a few sentences and go straight to say that in the year 1998, the region remained autonomous and elected their representatives to the then Meru County Council for 23 years until the year 2012. Then in the year 2012, Igoki again was discreetly subdivided again without public participation and against the will and the consent of the Igoki community. Therefore, the humble petitioners are seeking the intervention of this House through the Departmental Committee of Administration and National Security to inquire into the circumstances under which the Ministry of Interior and the Coordination of National Security has inordinately delayed the gazettement of Igoki as a division since 2019, yet it has so far posted 2 assistant county commissioners to the division. And number 2, intervene in the matters raised in the petition and cause the national government, through the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government, to immediately gazette Igoki Division and post the permanent assistant county commissioner to serve residents of Igoki Division in the new division, and make any other recommendations deemed necessary in addressing the concerns of the petitioners. And your petitioner will have a plea presented by Kaduri Mnungi again. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for your indulgence, and I thank you again, and wish you the best in your political career, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Nyamai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to make a comment on the petition regarding improving the arid and semi-arid areas, which you had read earlier. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important petition, and it will be very difficult for the relevant committee to handle this petition without making reference to the Equalization Fund, so that they check on the counties that it was supposed to benefit, the ones that it has benefited so far, the challenges that were faced, and what needs to be done, so that this does not also face the same challenges. Honorable Speaker, identification of these counties will be very important, because I realize that with the current special funding to semi-arid areas seems to leave very important counties like Kitui, Machakos, Makueni, Garissa. I think Garissa is part of it. But Honorable Speaker, just talking about Kitui, where we have several rivers passing by, and all we see is water going to the Indian Ocean. This matter needs to be taken seriously, and I would like the committee to take that into consideration. Also, I would like to say that it will not be about pushing people to those arid and semi-arid areas. It's about ensuring that they make these areas more attractive for targeted investors to go and invest there, so that people can move there to look for jobs or to be part of the investment opportunities. And also to ensure that these areas are secure, because these are the same areas where we have insecurity, like the border of Kitui, Tana River, and I think it is the same in the north and in the northeastern counties where this is likely to happen. And I believe that this is a petition that if it is properly handled, it can make a difference in relation to ensuring that we have more resources being pushed to these arid and semi-arid areas, and that we are able to plan for the future of our country, because the population is growing more and more, and the country will require places where people can live, areas which are economically viable. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Well, fortunately, the petition is directed to the committee which you chair, Honorable Nyamai. Yes. So I'm happy that you've already begun addressing yourself to the issues in the petition. Honorable Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I want to wish you well in your career. And as a presidential candidate, I hope you're able to marshal enough support to win that coveted seat. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I want to support the petition on reclamation of arid and semi-arid lands. And this can be done through proper irrigation. When you look at Israel, the kibbutz farms, they've done a lot on it, and we can be able to copy. Unfortunately, when we did the Kalana Kulalu, we did not do it in a proper way. Instead, we turned it into an embarrassment to this country, and I think that was very unfortunate. On the second petition, Honorable Speaker, by Honorable Kaduri Murungi, member for South Imenti, I want to support him, Honorable Speaker, because splitting his constituency, given the dynamics that he's been able to present here, I think that will take services closer to the people, and it will be for the betterment of the people of South Imenti. And I think he needs all the support that should be able to get, so that, and is given a chronology of events since some times back on what has happened, even failure to cassette sub-counties that were created, and that denies the people of South Imenti the crucial services like recruitments in terms of police, recruitments in army, employment in terms of teachers, and many other issues. So, Honorable Speaker, it's important when these services are done. You know, the other day I was in Kwangsa constituency visiting my friend, Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, and his people have to come all the way to Endebess for registration to get a birth certificate. And I said, this is a very unfortunate thing, and I hope that the administration will work on it to make sure that the birth certificates are issued in Kwangsa Center, not in Endebess, because somebody walking all the way from Kwangsa to Endebess to go and get this crucial document, I think it's very unfair to the people of Kwangsa, and very unfair even to those who deem to need those services, similar to the people of South Imenti. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Tharaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also support the first petition on the grounds that we need to reconsider our position as regards availability of arable lands in the country, and especially when we have tracts of huge land which are said to be arid and semi-arid, and those lands are found everywhere, including my county, Tharaka Nithi, my constituency itself. I think and I believe this is the time when the government should address itself to a form of reclamation of the arid and semi-arid lands so that they become arable and they are used for agricultural purposes. We know very well that as we attained independence, there was mass movement of people, especially from central Kenya to the Rift Valley. One was to pave way for large-scale farming so that we could sustain our economy. And the other one was actually to open up the arable lands in the Rift Valley and elsewhere in the coast so that these would be used for agricultural purposes. I believe this is what this petition is looking to do, and we should actually support it. I also support the two petitions by the Honorable Kaduri Murungi, my neighbor. Let's have units of administration move to the speed and gazetted and effected, actualized, so that our people can receive services from the nearest distances. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Dagoretti South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and my short comments are on the petition about the irrigation of arid lands so that they can become productive. Mr. Speaker, we have been held hostage by decisions that were made very many years ago at the beginning, sunrise years of this nation, where we made decisions to invest in certain places and certain parts of this country, Mr. Speaker. However, as the committee is taking this matter, I wish they would look beyond just the funding of such projects, Mr. Speaker, and even see as to why some of the plans that had been made, even before this country became a nation, where such plans went, Mr. Speaker. It is in public knowledge that before the colonialists left this country, they had an elaborate plan on how we can irrigate the entire country from every corner of this country to get sufficient water that could have actually reached every corner of the country using gravity, Mr. Speaker. So as they are addressing this petition, it would be good for them to go back to the archives, see where some of these impressive plans are, so that, Mr. Speaker, we shall be able to do in this country what countries like Egypt are doing. Egypt is said to be a desert, Mr. Speaker, but we are importing fruits from Egypt. Israel, Mr. Speaker, is not as arable as some parts of the country here that we call arid areas. So, Mr. Speaker, I think there's a lot of work to be done by the committee on this petition. And if they got it right, Mr. Speaker, we can make this country not only food sufficient, but also capable of producing enough food even for export. But, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of forced movement of people to allow for this arrangement, Mr. Speaker, that one I object. I do believe that the committee is up to the task to attend to this petition, and I do thank the petitioners for bringing it. And, Mr. Speaker, on your path, I do congratulate you, and you have brought up a good discussion for national discussion in our politics, Mr. Speaker, about sanitizing our politics, bringing political hygiene into politics, Mr. Speaker. And you should be credited for raising such an issue, Mr. Speaker, so that we can sanitize and make our politics a bit more hygienic. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And no political conmanship, Mr. Speaker, or taking off with monies for political parties when you get into a coalition with them and playing the smaller brothers in a coalition. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Lamu.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipatia na mimi nafasi nami nichangie. Bwana Spika, moja kwa moja mimi naunga mkono hili ombi. Bwana Spika, ningeomba wenzangu walioko hapa bunge, tukipata miswada kama hii tufikirie kama Wakenya. Tusianze kufikiria ukabila, manake imekuwa desturi hapa kila kinapangwa kwa sababu ya walio wengi. Na Bwana Spika, mimi naweza kupatia mfano katika hii ombi imesema Lamu gas ipatikane gas. Lamu kulikuja na kampuni inaitwa Zarara, wakatafuta gas wakakosa, lakini gasi iko, kampuni nyingine ikija itapata. Mfano ni Zarara ilipokuja Lamu, si huyo mkubwa hapa wa hapo kwa hiyo Zarara alikuwa anaitwa Mr. Ndungu, si Mbajuni. Wakifaidika wanafaidika watu wote. Bwana Spika, hizi sehemu tunafaa tuzifungue. Na wenzetu hapa au kamati watembelee, zikifunguliwa zitasaidia Kenya nzima, haitasaidia Lamu peke yake. Bwana Spika, kule kuna changamoto. Unaenda kutoka Lamu mpaka Ndau masaa mawili, jisaji moja na dakika 20 kutafuta kama ni kura 800. Bwana Spika, unaenda Kiwayu jisaji moja na nusu kwa boti kutafuta kura 300. Na hiyo mafuta inakupeleka Ndau na kukuregesha, ya kupeleka Ndau na kukuregesha, inakupeleka Nairobi na kukuregesha. So changamoto ni tofauti. Msione mmekaa hapa Nairobi mkakuwa mnafanya siasa zaidi kwa sababu hamtaki maendeleo mengine kuyafanya labda.
Relevance.
Relevance, Bwana Spika, wasaidiwe watu ambao ni marginalized na area ambao zina ukame na zinaweza saidia Kenya nzima. Ndio maana nimezungumza mambo ya gas. Ikifunguliwa kule haitamsaidia Mbajuni peke yake, itasaidia Kenya nzima, italipa ushuru Kenya nzima, kila mtu atafaidika kama.
Member for Kwanza, but please be relevant, eh?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the chance to speak on that. And I support the petition. One, I think in this country we are actually experiencing an increase in population. And if we don't take steps, we're going to have problems. The next 20 years, there'll be a problem. One, I think let's have funds to be able to create, like Honorable Pokosa said, I've been in Israel and I was so surprised. The place is very dry, but the activities there is because of directing the water to the right places as far as irrigation is concerned, and it has worked very well. They have no food shortages. Secondly, the Speaker, again, you will find that, and I hope I'll be able to be invited by the Lands Committee so that I can be able to have an input in that, because we are having arable land now being subdivided, and the land is becoming smaller and smaller because of population. And therefore, we want to at least to do the way the late Nyerere actually suggested, Vijiji vya Ujamaa, where the family stay in one place and leave other areas for cultivation. And I therefore want to ask the committee, please let me have an input when you have a meeting, because I don't belong to that committee, so that I can be able to put in my input on the same. I support.
Member for Nakuru Town East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, as much as you're telling us not to talk about relevance, Honorable Speaker, you know I've voted for you twice in this House, and I will be coming to your office because it's also important. We are your first voters and your first constituents. So we appreciate you visited Nakuru. Karibu sana. Once again, na uniite kwa mkutano yako. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support Honorable Kathuri's petition. Honorable Speaker, it is important for us to realize, especially the Committee on Administration, to realize the importance of what Honorable Kathuri has just brought up. Honorable Kathuri is seeking some very important things which go through public participation, Honorable Speaker, and these resolutions at some point, they are never adhered to. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying this, that much as Honorable Kathuri is seeking for the gazettement of these kind of issues, particularly on where we have divisions and subdivisions, Honorable Speaker, even in my Nakuru Town East constituency, Honorable Speaker, it's sad to see Nakuru Town East has gazetted subdivisions and divisions, and yet it is not being implemented. Well, my colleague in Nakuru Town West, all that was passed and gazetted was approved, and already the chiefs and the sub-chiefs are there. So it is important for the chair, as they look into this petition, that they also need to look into the others which have already been gazetted, but they have not been implemented. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Sassion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the early petition on irrigating our arable land. Honorable Speaker, scientists estimate that by the year 2050, unless we change our agricultural system, Kenya will not be able to produce food to sustain our citizenry. That petition, Honorable Speaker, is thought-provoking to this House and particularly the committee to make the necessary recommendations to secure this country in terms of food production. Indeed, we've got huge tracts of land, over 80%, that can be converted into useful agricultural production and to feed the entire country. Of course, the other aspect of relocating citizens is a bit controversial, but of course that will be sorted out by the housing flagship that we've talked about, that it's almost time we rationalize the settlement of people in this country so that we can free more agricultural space for food production. Honorable Speaker, you may note that since independence, we adopted a land tenure system that does not allow promotion of technology. And there is need to focus more in, of course, when you look at countries like Israel, not only Israel, even Saudi Arabia, where they're desalinizing the the seawater to be able to use it for agriculture. And really, a lot has been done in terms of agricultural production in Saudi Arabia and Israel. Kenya, we can do far much better. And indeed, agricultural sector need to be funded more than security to ensure food sustainability.
Member for Kilifi South. Member having appeals to me. I have requested.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to present petition number 011 of 2022. This is regarding persistent harassment and unlawful eviction of residents of Kuruwitu village of Junju Ward in Kilifi South constituency. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the residents of Kuruwitu village of Junju Ward in Kilifi South constituency, draw the attention of the House the following. That Kuruwitu village is in Shariani, sublocation in Junju Ward of Kilifi South constituency, is a pre-colonial village that was established in 1882 by one Alik bin Muhammad and current 268, 55, 269, 23, 267, 299, and 300, all on Section 3 of Mineral North, and they consist of 100 acres. That Mr. Malik bin Muhammad and his wife passed away childless in 1940, leaving the land under the care of the family of Mr. Saidi Nzai Kombe, who was his business apprentice, with the land being registered under the Land Title Ordinance of the British Protectorate in Kenya as number 6290. That over the years, the population of Kuruwitu village increased and expanded exponentially on account of Mr. Malik bin Muhammad's legacy of hospitality, by which he welcomed many people to settle in Shariani, some of whom were seeking safety from the ongoing slave trade in the coastal region. 4, that in addition to the original Mijikenda and Swahili communities, intermarriages and commerce created diversification at Kuruwitu that included the Meru, Kamba, Kikuyu, Masai, and other communities. 5, that currently the land hosts a wide range of public utilities such as hospitals, schools, petrol stations, garages, mosques, churches, bars, restaurants, public administration offices of the Assistant County Commissioner, chiefs and assistant chiefs, as well as tourism, agriculture, and fishing activities. 6, that for many years since independence, the residents have attempted to secure the regularization of the ownership of the land for purpose of security of tenure and for realization of its full economic potential, but to no avail. That in 1947, one Mr. Hassan bin Omar arrived in Kuruwitu from Lamu, and upon his request was given a portion of land to put up a home. That in 2014, the residents were shocked when a land search revealed that provisional titles to the land had been issued in the names of Mr. Hassan Omar Hassan, Mr. Muhammad bin Ali, Mr. Ali bin Muhammad, Mr. Ali bin Haji, and Mr. Muhammad bin Abdul Karim. That these 5 individuals have for several years persistently and harassed the residents of Kuruwitu, threatened them with eviction, and constantly demolishing their houses belonging to some of the over 10,000 residents. That efforts by the petitioners to seek the intervention of the Minister of Land, the National Land Commission, and other offices have been futile. And that the matters contained in this petition are not pending before any court of law or before any legal or constitutional body. Now, therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through the Departmental Committee on Lands, in collaboration with the National Land Commission, 1, urgently inquires into the irregular allocation of plots number 268, 269, 276, 299, and 300, all in Section 3 of Mainland North, in Kuruwitu village, to Masters Hassan Omar Hassan, Muhammad bin Ali, Ali bin Muhammad, Ali bin Haj, and Mohammed bin Abdul Karim with a view to securing the revocation of the illegal land transaction in order to revert ownership of the land to the residents of Kuruitu village who are the rightful owners. 2, secures the issuance of certificates of title to the residents of Shariani sublocation to facilitate the realization of the full economic potential of their land. And 3, makes any other order or relief that it deems fit to secure the welfare and rights of the petitioners. And your petitioners will ever pray. Presented by me, Honorable Ken Chonga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I think I will end comments on petitions now. The time is over. The 30 minutes which is allocated for comments. So your petition will go to the committee. It will deal with it there. Let's move to the next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader or majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, the 1st of March, 2022. The first batch is the reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect to the following institutions for the year ended 30th of June, 2020, and the certificates therein. And these are Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology, Auctioneers Licensing Board, Kenya Medical Laboratory Technicians and Technologists Board, Kenya Marine Research Institute, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, Kenya Medical Training College, Pharmacy and Poisons Board, National AIDS Control Council, the National Quality Control Laboratory, the National Center on Groundwater Resource Education, Training and Research in East Africa, the Meru National Polytechnic, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, Kenya Coast National Polytechnic, Pwani University, Ahmed Shahame Mwidani Technical Training Institute, National Mining Corporation, Kenya Water Institute, Public Regulatory Authority, NW Technical, the new Technical and Vocational College, the Mitungu Technical Training Institute. And the second batch is the reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect to the following constituencies for the year ended 30th of June 2020 and the certificates therein. And these are Kitui East, Mwingi West, Machakos Town, Kangundo, Mbere North, Belgut, Kitui Central, Kangema, Kaloleni, Mvita, Marakwet East, Magarini, Kari, Lunga Lunga, Sigor, Kitutu Chacha South, Rangwe, Lugari, Kimilili, Bobasi, Budalangi, Wajia East, Shinyalu, Endebes, and finally Malawa. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairman, Transport, Public Works.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. Reports of the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing on its consideration of Roman 1, a petition on behalf of the residents of South Rift and Nyanza regarding the viability of the standard gauge railway project by Honorable David Olesangok. Roman 2, Honorable Speaker, a petition regarding the compensation of owners of the land acquired for construction of St. Mary's Kinooro access to Ikoji TTC, Kianchuku, Mbogoro Road project, Honorable Speaker, by Honorable Kareke Mbiuki. And finally, a petition regarding proposal to amend the National Construction Authority Act to provide for inclusion of the cost of public funded projects on project signboard, Honorable Speaker, by Mr. Boniface Mwangi. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair Health. Chair Health, or the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unajua lazima nivae barakoa kwa sababu sheria hiyo iko sasa. Lakini Bwana Speaker,
but you've been doing very well with the two ladies without it.
Speaker, it means also you've been also keen. You've been looking at the ladies, not only me. So it means also your eyes have been somewhere. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House. Today, Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, report of the Departmental Committee on Health on its consideration of the Mental Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 28 of 2022. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Sankok. Oh, is absent, not desiring to be present. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
First question by the Honorable Gikaria.
Sorry, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask question number 056 of 2022 to the Cabinet Secretary, Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. Could the, question number 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the Kenya National Highway Authority, KENHA, has stopped public service vehicles, PSV, from using the bus stop commonly known as Gategoro bus stop located near Nakuru Town footbridge along Nakuru-Nairobi Highway, despite it being a recognized bus stop? 2, could the Cabinet Secretary consider removing the blockades and reopening the said bus stop? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
To be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. The next question is by the Honorable Dr. Robert Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask question number 059 of 2022 to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry. 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the circumstances that led to the suspension of community forest associations that undertook the Shamba system, commonly referred as the Unkia system, in various forest establishments in the country? 2, what impact has this directive had on the forest cover in the country, and when will the directive be lifted? Number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary explain whether the Kenya Forest Service maintains roads that serve forests, and particularly in Endebe's constituency, Endebe's, Salama, and Haman Kiptokot roads, 5, what plans does the ministry have to resettle the more than 1,500 families evicted from social forest on 25th October 2021, and how is the ministry dealing with the humanitarian crisis as a result of the evictions that were carried out? And Honorable Speaker, these people have been suffering since that time when they were evicted, and it's very unfortunate that the government has not so far taken care of these people, despite even the Red Cross visiting them and doing the assessment. So, Honorable Speaker, this is a humanitarian crisis, and as the rains are now going to come, you will find that these people are going to suffer because their houses were demolished, some of their foods were taken away, and these people within social forest are suffering up to today. So, Honorable Speaker, thank you.
I thought you were asking a question.
Yes, I'm asking. I just took advantage of your
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Next question is by the Honorable Sosion.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question number 60/2022. directed to the Teacher Service Commission. One, could the Teacher Service Commission confirm whether the numerous cases of interdiction, suspensions, and transfers of teachers to far-flung areas away from their homes of teachers who have raised pertinent issues directly regarding the manner in which the competency-based curriculum, teacher professional development are being rolled out in accordance with the employment and labor laws. Two, could the Commission explain why it is promoting workplace intimidation and perpetuating unfair labor practices against teachers whenever they raise concerns over their welfare matters, including delayed promotions and upgrading, collective bargaining agreements with no monetary benefits, a facade implementation of teacher performance appraisals, development, TPAD, among many others concerns. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Question. Sorry. Before the Committee on Education and Research, the next question is by the member for Sigowet Soin, the Honorable Kipsengeret Koros, who wrote requesting for deferment of the question to Thursday this week. Request was acceded to. So move to the next question by the member for Kuresoi South, the Honorable Tonui. The Honorable Joseph Tonui, member for Kuresoi South. Member for Kuresoi South for the second time. The Honorable Joseph Tonui, member being absent, not desiring to be present, question is dropped. Move to the next segment, which is the request for statement. I have a request from the Honorable Kasim Tandaza, member for Matuga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to request for a statement on failure by the Kenya National Highways Authority to compensate residents of Matuga constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing regarding failure by the Kenya National Highways Authority to compensate victims of land acquired for expansion of the Mombasa-Lungalunga Road. Honorable Speaker, good road network gives impetus to economic development of a country through expanding connectivity and enabling free movement of goods, services, and people. The Dongokundu bypass is one of the major flagship infrastructure projects earmarked to turn around the economic fortunes of the coastal region. In order to expand the width of the bypass and other link roads, the government compulsorily annexed 10-meter strips of private land and demolished structures on it, particularly along Mombasa-Lungalunga Road. Honorable Speaker, Article 43 and 4 of the Constitution obligates the state to promptly and justly compensate for affected people, including those who may not hold title to the land, for any land acquired for public use. Sadly, residents of Pungu, Wa, Ngombeni, Denyenya, and Tiwi locations in Matuga constituency, whose land was annexed by Kenha to allow for expansion of the Mombasa-Lungalunga Road, are yet to be compensated. Honorable Speaker, it is on this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing on the following. 1, the reasons as to why Kenya has failed to compensate victims of land compulsorily acquired for expansion of Mombasa-Lungalunga Road, particularly the residents of Pungu, Wa, Ngombeni, Denyenya, and Tiwi locations in Matuga constituency. 2, when does Kenya intend to conclusively compensate the patriotic Kenyans who gave up their private land in good faith, including their structures that had to be demolished in order to pave way for the expansion of the Mombasa-Lungalunga Road and construction of the Dongokundu bypass? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You say your statement is to the Honorable Kosing, when are you
Honorable Speaker, without anticipating debate or what happens at the end of the week, I can commit to take 2 weeks. It's a very important, it's a good question or statement.
Very well.
Thank you, Speaker.
2 weeks, Honorable Tandaza. 2 weeks. Yeah, very well. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, reduction of publication period for a specified bill.
Honorable Kimunya, Leader of Majority. Oh, Honorable Kanini Kega, Chair of Budget.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2022 from 7 days to 4 days. Honorable Speaker, this is straightforward because the Division of Revenue is a product of the BPS. And the BPS we have extensively and exhaustively dealt with here, including the public participation. Honorable Speaker, the second issue is that we need also to dispense off with this bill so that at least it can also go to the Senate, so that we can also give rise to the other processes for the budget to continue. With those few remarks, I want to move and request the Majority Leader, Honorable Kimunya, to second.
Honorable Kimunya.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to second. And just to alert members that we just had a very intensive discussion and consultation on the BPS, during which this matter was fairly exposed. We did discuss it in the House Business Committee this morning and looked at the options available and agreed it's in the best interest of the country and the best interest of the county governments and the best interest of this parliament to actually process this Division of Revenue Bill within this week so that we don't have to interrupt the recess of members to come and discuss it during recess. And in any case, since the matter has been widely publicized, the figure was known, the figure was included in the BPS. This House passed the BPS, so it's basically the bill. We can now give the committee some time to just go and prepare the report. Then, in the course of tomorrow or Thursday, we then process the bill, which then gives the Treasury the opportunity to bring the estimates. And I want to just alert members of this House, because it's important as we make this decision, that the courts have decided that printed estimates cannot be introduced into the House before the Division of Revenue Act has been assented, before we have a Division of Revenue Act. So it's a matter that we are being called upon to fulfill our constitutional requirement, that before we can receive the estimates, we must have processed the Division of Revenue Bill, after which the bill will go to the Senate. The Senate will carry further public participation. By the time we come back, then we'll have a DORA, and that will now untie the budgeting process. And we don't have much time for that budgeting process because of, obviously, the campaigns, and members need to go and carry out their nomination. So it's in our interest that we clear some of these things so we are free to actually go to our constituents and appeal to them for our fresh mandate. And hence, looking at all those parameters into account, we thought the best thing is we appeal to the members of this House that we shorten the publication period, because there's already been public participation. There'll be further public participation within the Senate. And after that, the most important thing is we untie. We provide the Treasury with the opportunity to provide us with the printed estimates so that we can interrogate that further, and including the financing for our activities even within our areas. So I just want to appeal to members that on this particular one, let us be united. Let us have a bipartisan approach to it. and we avoid our own factional issues so that we think of what is in the best interest of our country at this point, which is the processing of the budget before we get very busy with the electoral cycle. Honorable Speaker, with that appeal, I beg to second.
Order members, order members. This is the Honorable Sosion. The Honorable Sosion, please. No, it's not done that way. Just stand next to the Honorable Millie Odhiambo. She is not harmful, as you are doing. Honour members, I propose a question, which is that notwithstanding the provision standing under number 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2022, from 7 days to 4 days. As the desire of the House, I put the question. I proceed so to do. That notwithstanding the provision standing under 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2022, from 7 days to 4 days. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the equitable division of revenue raised nationally between the national and county governments in 2022-2023 financial year and for connected purposes.
Before, the Honourable Member for Tesla North, you're on an issue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to wish you the very best in the quest for the presidency in this country. And Mr. Speaker, the question I wanted to ask is related to legislative proposal that last year, August on 23rd, you allowed an introduction that I introduced a bill to amend the Kenya Medical Training College Act to provide for constituent colleges, management and governance. Mr. Speaker, the legislative proposal has been lying with the Committee of Budget and Appropriation for determination on the financial content or implication, whether the bill has financial implication. Mr. Speaker, I wanted your guidance because last week I wrote to you, Mr. Speaker, to request, given the where we are now as a House and where we are heading, that the bill be published if the committee are unable to give the report. We are now in March, and I submitted it last year, December, Mr. Speaker, sir. So I need your guidance on that, and I request that this bill can be published so that within this available time, we can process, because it's a very important bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, fortunately, the Chair of Budget is himself in the House. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth. A legislative proposal to amend the Kenya Medical Training Center.
Honorable Speaker, I seek your indulgence that I'll have the report by tomorrow. I know there are quite a number of legislative proposals that we have been able to process. I want to check the status and what became of it. So, Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, I'll give a report by tomorrow.
Tomorrow afternoon?
Tomorrow afternoon, sir.
Very well, Honorable Kaunya, tomorrow afternoon, Chair of Budget will give a report on the status of your legislative proposal. Now, the Honorable David Olesankok, what you have an intervention. What is the issue?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I'm very sorry for having stepped out earlier. And last week I had rose on motion of adjournment on a reason on a definite matter of urgent national importance to discuss rising food prices in the country. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 33-1.
No, what now? You know, we've just cleared order number 8-9.
Yes, sir.
I saw you have placed an intervention, and so I don't know what.
Well, the direction was given that it is today 6 o'clock, so I wanted just to confirm.
By who? You know?
By the Speaker.
But you see, that was, you should have done that when we were at order number 6, which is notices of motion. So are you seeking the intervention of the Speaker to allow you to go back, we go back to order number 6, so as to allow you to give notice of this motion?
Yes, sir, I need your guidance because already directions were given that today at 6 p.m. we'll have the motion of adjournment. And it was allowed by the Speaker, that is Honorable Chaboy, who was sitting on your behalf. So
there's already
it's slated for 6
p.m.
today. So I just wanted to confirm.
If that, no, I don't have to go. If it was, and I believe the clerk could confirm, if that is a position, that's the position?
Yes, yes, sir.
So that everybody knows that from the hour of 6 p.m.,
yes,
the House will
adjourn.
Will stop business, which will be then in consideration to allow you to move that motion.
Yes, sir. And thank you very much for your guidance.
Very well, very well. You don't have to give notice again.
Yes.
Because today you might not have the numbers.
Yes. So thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. And that is why you are a presidential candidate. And you hear everybody supporting you. And you are a mobile encyclopedia when it comes to our constitution. You really know. So thank you very much.
Proceed. Very well. We proceed to the next motion. Next business.
Order number 10, motion. Report on the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023.
Chairman, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023, submitted by the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury pursuant to the provisions of Section 33 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and Standing Order 232-4 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, February 15, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 15.4 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and the Standing Order number 232.9 and 10. And Honorable Speaker, A, approves the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023. B, approves the national borrowing strategy as contained in the 2022-2023 medium-term debt management strategy at a level consistent with the fiscal deficit of Kenya shilling 400 billion or 3% of GDP, whichever is lower. However, I am aware of some amendments that have been brought by the majority leader in pursuant to what we also passed in the BPS. And C, makes the policy resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper policy resolution relating to the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023. Honorable Speaker, the 2022 medium-term debt management strategy was tabled in the National Assembly on Tuesday, November 30th, 2021, pursuant to Section 33(1) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and Standing Order number 232.1. Upon tabling, it was committed to the Budget and Appropriations Committee for review in line with the Standing Order number 232.6. It is therefore, Honorable Speaker, my pleasure and great honor on behalf of the Budget and Appropriations Committee to table the report on the 2022 medium-term debt management strategy and recommend to this House for adoption. Honorable Speaker, this is the first time. This is the first time that we are getting a separate report on the medium-term debt management strategy to be tabled in the House since the enactment of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. The decision by the committee to table a separate report was necessitated by the need to broaden the understanding of the effects of borrowing and the accruals of public stock of debt on economic growth, taxation, and livelihood. Honorable Speaker, according to the recent data from the Central Bank of Kenya, the Kenya public stock of debt has increased in both numbers and value, and it is currently estimated at Kenya shilling 8.2 trillion. This calls for the enhancement, of course, of oversight. Honorable Speaker, the tabling of the standalone report on NTDS provides a more focused approach in appreciating and deliberating on debt matters. Indeed, the committee is dedicated to undertaking further engagement with all parties in the view of Kenya public stock of debt and Honorable Speaker, the stock of debt continues to grow as a result of persistent fiscal deficit. For the financial year 2022-2023, the mismatch between the proposed debt ceiling estimated at Kenya shilling 3.34 trillion shillings and the revenue projection estimated at Kenya shilling 2.4 trillion has resulted in a fiscal deficit estimated at Kenya shilling 846 billion, or 6.0 of the GDP. This is indicated in the 2022 budget policy statement. Honorable Speaker, the fiscal deficit necessitated borrowing in order to meet the difference. To this extent, for the financial year 2022-2023, the MTDS has proposed the following borrowing strategy. 1, the gross foreign financing, that is at 25%, and the gross domestic financing ratio, that is 75%. 2, the net foreign financing at 32% and net domestic financing ratio at 68%. Honorable Speaker, before arriving at this strategy, the MTDS evaluated various borrowing strategies, considering the inherent risk in the existing debt stock. The aim was to achieve the following debt management objective. 1, reduction of the cost and risk. 2, development of domestic market institutions. And 3, ensuring equitable sharing of burden between the present and future generation as enshrined institution. Honorable Speaker, the 2022 MTDS provides a shift from the previous borrowing strategy by bringing the domestic market to the forefront of budget financing. It is expected that this will cushion the debt stock from volatility in the global financial markets. Honorable Speaker, in addition to the borrowing mix, Mr. Speaker, the MTDS proposes a raft of measures to promote the development of developed market and institutions in order to enhance the domestic market efficiency and provide sufficient access to credit finance by both public and private sectors. Honorable Speaker, these reforms include 1, enhancing market infrastructure through automation of a new central security depository system by CBK. 2, enhancement of the treasury bonds benchmark programs. And 3, setting up of over-the-counter trading platform to complement the Nairobi Stock Securities Exchange, among others. Honorable Speaker, I wish to inform this House that the debt management strategy has also taken advantage of the debt servicing suspension initiative, DSSI, to create room for the government to meet critical expenditure needs. To this extent, Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to extend gratitude to our creditors and the international development partners for their consideration in assisting Kenya to free up to Kenya shilling 46 billion, which was redirected to our social, health, and economic spending in response to the COVID-19 crisis. Honorable Speaker, as part of the review of the 2022 MTDS, the committee held extensive deliberations with the National Treasury on the critical aspect of the medium-term debt management strategy and the BPS. During these engagements, the committee noted with concern that the public debt will amount to Kenya shillings 8.6 trillion in the financial year 2022-2023. The National Treasury did make commitment to the committee that they are totally in control of the public debt situation, and we will continue and will be proposing sustainable measures in the near future. Honorable Speaker, having noted this, it is true that the cost and risk of the task of the debt burden will remain elevated. As such, prudent debt management is very crucial, as these risk coupled with the frequency and increasing size of debt servicing could affect medium-term fiscal sustainability and slow down the pace of economic recovery. Honorable Speaker, it follows, therefore, that the following key policies should be applied. The fiscal consolidation, Honorable Speaker. We need to retire, the commercial debts in favor of concessional debts or loans. Enhancing transparency. Need to know what has been borrowed and where it is going. The 3, increasing effectiveness of resource allocation. 4, efficiency of use of diminishing resources. And 5, fiscal discipline and fiscal commitment, as also enshrined in our Constitution. Honorable Speaker, I want to say and confirm to this House that the only institution that is mandated by law to provide the actual figures as the size of our debt is only Central Bank of Kenya. And by December, they provided so. So any person, any institution, any entity claiming that the debt of the country is beyond 8.2, it's hearsay, doesn't have any merit, and is not documented. What we have in our records is that the debt as at December of last year was 8.2 trillion shillings, and is projected to be at 8.6 by the end of this financial year. Honorable Speaker, with those very few remarks, I beg to move and request the Majority Whip, Honorable Wangwe, to second. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion on the medium-term debt management strategy as cleverly, ably laid on the, discussed by the chair. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I'll just give a highlight. The details have been discussed by the chair. And just to make the members, Honorable Speaker, understand that this is originating from Article 212, particularly Article 212.2, which defines what a public debt is to the Kenyan people, Honorable Speaker. And it says, Honorable Speaker, that the public debt means all financial obligations attendant to loans raised or guaranteed and securities issued or guaranteed by the national government, Honorable Speaker. That definition is what this document, Honorable Speaker, highlights and enables members to understand where are we in terms of the debt of this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the strategy highlighted in this document, especially by the government, intends over the medium term with a view, Honorable Speaker, to reducing the cost and risk associated with the public debt, and is anchored in the 2022 budget, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just as in terms of the recommendations laid in this document, taking the two sides, Honorable Speaker, of the policy recommendations, it talks about, Honorable Speaker, that by April 2022, when the national budget is tabled, a full quantification of Kenya's public debt stock as defined under this article, which I've just read 2 and 4 of the Constitution, be undertaken. Honorable Speaker, members need to appreciate that we need to know where are we, how much is our debt, and appreciate, Honorable Speaker, as we prepare the budget for 2022-2023, we need to know by April or March, whichever comes earlier, what is our global debt position, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the report also states that a debt register should be submitted on quarterly basis to Parliament, Honorable Speaker, for scrutiny. The committee recommends, Honorable Speaker, that we do keep a debt register so that any movement, any shift, Honorable Speaker, should be really laid on the table of this House so that members can be able to understand how much debt the country is servicing or how much debt the country is bearing. Honorable Speaker, in the same report, it recommends that, Honorable Speaker, by April 2022, when the national budget is tabled, a progress report on all externally funded projects be provided in order to enhance transparency and accountability. Honorable Speaker, when we are talking of public debt, it's not just an issue of domestic debt alone. We should also appreciate that the government borrows externally. Therefore, it is the view of the committee, Honorable Speaker, that let there be a full list of the public debt to be put together, Honorable Speaker. In terms of the financial recommendations, Honorable Speaker, the committee is of the view that the country's borrowing strategy be approved, Honorable Speaker. There are 4 strategies that the government is proposing through the medium-term debt strategy, Honorable Speaker, as well elaborated by the chair. We are requesting that, Honorable Speaker, this medium-term debt management strategy be approved, but inconsistent with the fiscal deficit of the 400 billion that is maybe either the 400 billion or 3% of the GDP, whichever is low. Honorable Speaker, the committee is cautious that whatever approval we take, let it not be beyond the 400 billion. The reason being, Honorable Speaker, at 846 trillion, it means if we exceed by 400 billion, Honorable Speaker, 8.6, we will now be surpassing the debt ceiling that's approved by the House. We are of cognizance, Honorable Speaker, that until this House approves anything extra, we have to live within the 9 trillion debt ceiling. With those very few recommendations, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second.
I propose the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023, submitted by the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, pursuant to the provisions of Section 33 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and starting under 232, subsection 4, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, February 15, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 15, subsection 4 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and standing under 232, subsections 9 and 10, A, approves the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023. B, approves the national borrowing strategy as contained in the 2022-2023 medium-term debt management strategy at a level consistent with the fiscal deficit of Kenya shillings 400 billion or 3% of GDP, whichever is lower. And C, makes the policy resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper, which is policy resolutions relating to the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023. Honourable members, I have received indication of some proposed amendments, and I intend to dispense with them first so that debate can commence either with the motion as amended or as is. The first amendment proposal is from the leader of the majority party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to move in an amended form, pursuant to Standing Order number 48, that the motion be amended, 1, by deleting paragraph B, and 2, by inserting the following new paragraph after paragraph C, which is a D, reading, delete the second sentence in paragraph 18 and financial recommendations of the report. Honourable Speaker, members will note on the order paper that initially I had intended to delete the entire paragraph 18, but I did realize that the problem was not in the entire paragraph, but just in the second sentence. that has reference to a deficit, fiscal deficit of 400 billion. Honorable Speaker.
Debt ceiling, not a shilling more, and it cannot be unless we are able to follow the Constitution and also follow the law as set out in the Public Finance Management Act. The provisions of the Act are that the debt ceiling is to come under a statutory instrument, whether an order or a regulation stating that this House does approve the increment of the debt in the debt ceiling. Without that, it cannot be otherwise, and therefore, this proposed amendment is timely, and we should all actually back it because it's purely to ensure we and the country are well informed. With those remarks, I beg to second.
Honourable members, I propose the question, which is that the motion be amended further by inserting the following new paragraph immediately after paragraph B. So it's proposed to be BA. Although, I mean, just for information of members, paragraph B has already been deleted by the amendment that we have, which has been carried. It reads that this House notes, this amendment is for, it just calls the House to note. This House notes that the approval of the 2022-2023 budget policy statement and the 2022-2023 medium-term debt management strategy is not to be construed to imply the approval of the increase of the national debt limit in brackets Kenya shillings 9 trillion as stipulated under legal notice number 155 on the Public Finance Management Act number 18 of 2012. Leader Majority wishes to contribute.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I rise to oppose this amendment on a couple of issues. One, it's speculative in nature. I've just spent a lot of time here explaining how we will determine whether there is a budget deficit and the amount of that when we receive the estimate. And the House agreed with me. The second thing is superfluous. We are basically stating the obvious. We are telling ourselves as a House that we will note that Treasury will not bring us here, that what we've done should not be construed to be some increase in the debt ceiling. It actually amounts to casting aspersions on ourselves, on this House, that we actually don't know what we are doing. That's what the amendment is trying to do by being brought here, that this House does not seem to understand or to know what we are doing, that we could actually be indirectly increasing the debt ceiling, and we need one of our own members to remind ourselves that we need to note that what we have done should not be construed to be an increase. It's actually an insult to this House if, to actually end up with something like this. And it amounts, and I'm sure the Honorable Kerry himself has used these words in our discussion. We are basically like, you know, the night nurse waking up a patient to tell them to take sleeping pills. You know, we are basically stating the obvious, and hence it's a waste of our time. It may be good politically out there to talk about people who are confused. They actually don't understand when we do decisions here in the House. We don't legislate in vain. We don't put words on paper just for purposes of people listening and thinking that the House did this thing, so it did not imply that. That's subject to interpretation out there. So for Honorable Kerry and Kimani Ichung'wah to come and try to interpret what we even did and remind ourselves that based on what you did, people out there should not think that this House did ABCD. You know, this is totally ridiculous to use the list, and hence we should not be wasting a lot of time. Let's just remove this from our records by deleting this, by objecting to it, by by defeating this amendment, because it is very obvious that this House will not approve estimates that go beyond the debt ceiling. We don't need to be reminded of that. That's our duty. We are bound by our Constitution, and I think the whole motion was brought in more for the cameras than for actually intending for it to be actually included within the report. I beg to oppose.
Well, but I already had given an indication that I would be, even though the Honorable Leader of Majority has indicated that when you give a patient sleeping pills, you don't caution them that this is not cure for malaria. Let me hear the Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Actually, Honorable Speaker, the reason why we even wanted to raise a matter before the motion was seconded is because, Honorable Speaker, I thought we were wasting the House's time. Because, Honorable Speaker, just listen to me. Listen to me. Honorable Speaker, if you listened very carefully to the amendment by the majority leader, the issue KK is raising, Honorable KK, is the same issue which has been addressed by the amendment by the majority leader. And actually, I sought to get your guidance, Honorable Speaker, because I understand Honorable KK, he conveys he's a communication expert. I'm sure, MKJ, Honorable Speaker, if it was Honorable Kimani Chungwa moving this thing himself, and he had listened to the majority leader, he would have withdrawn this amendment. Because the matter was already addressed. So even though it looks like we are going to say no to it, but to me, I thought really, it is already addressed by what the majority leader, the amendment by the majority leader, which as a House, we have approved, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable. I just wanted to make that point clear. Thank you.
Can I get a sense of the House? I put the question, honorable members, let me get the sense of the House. By putting the question, that I put the question. So I put the question, that I put the question. Will as many as that opinion say aye? As many as counter opinion say nay? So, honorable members, the ayes have it. I therefore proceed to put the question. I proceed to put the question that the motion be amended by inserting the following new paragraph immediately after paragraph B, being BA, that this House notes that the approval of the 2022-2023 budget policy statements and the 2022-2023 medium-term debt management strategy is not to be construed to imply the approval of the increase of the national debt limits, in brackets 9 trillion shillings, as stipulated under legal notice number 155 on the Public Finance Management Act number 18 of 2012. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of counter opinion say nay? The nays have it. The nays have it. So the amendment is defeated. So we go. Did I hear somebody talk about a division? No, you don't sit and shout that you want a division. You rise in your place and claim for it. We will not, I don't think whether the House intends to carry out another orientation at this late point in the life of the 12th Parliament. So the motion continues, debate on the motion continues as amended. Very well. I'll now go back to the list, not the interventions. Go to the honorary list. The Honorable Sakwa Bunyas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I restrict my discussion on this particular point because we have a substantive bill before the House that takes care of all of these things that have been raised. I think one thing I'm happy with, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that there's an increased awareness, not only in the public, but also in this House, that the consequences of what we approve need now to be looked at very carefully, particularly in respect of the levels of deficit. Forget breaching or not breaching the debt ceiling, but even the levels of deficits themselves have become a matter of concern. And I think that's a very great achievement. We have gotten where we have because within the debt ceilings, we have allowed the debt stock to rise consequentially. But now that we reach the debt ceiling, I think we are rightly now debating the merits of what it might be. But I guess there's going to be a lot more to say when the request for the ceiling going above 9 trillion comes up, because it will come up. It's coming soon. That's with certainty. So I see that this is a dry run for what those arguments might turn out to be. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think that if we go to a point of great soberness and we allow discussions around these matters of debt, ceiling or no ceiling, because sometimes it's not a ceiling matter, it's a question of the deficit level, we would help to manage this economy. Parliament would help to add to the efforts, whatever those efforts are, of the executive to run this economy. It's obvious that the Parliament's active participation and discussion and decision would be able to guide the executive itself, but would also contribute to sound economic management. Debt is like a thermometer. It tells you many, many, many things. There are issues, for example, without rolling over into the debate for tomorrow, that we should think about deeply. We talk about strengthening domestic markets, which is something that has been mentioned by the chair of the Budget Committee. There are issues on how debt is raised on domestic market. Who are the ones that give that debt? And how is it paid? How is it paid? And so on. There are many issues. There are governance issues in there too. So I do hope that we'll continue this spirit of inquisitiveness and alertness when the substantive bill comes up in the, hopefully the third reading, if we go beyond the bill tomorrow. So those few remarks I have, being a member of the committee, I do not want to open up any new issues on this. I support.
For Unyenjes, Jiru Muchangi, you have the floor. Honorable Jiru Muchangi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam
Order,
Speaker.
members, order.
Thank you,
Order.
Madam Speaker. I intend to speak on the next matter, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Your request is to speak on the next matter. Can I have the member with that for Honorable Gichimu Githinki? Next on my request list, the Honorable Gichimu Githinki.
Madam Speaker, I'm on queue for the next order, that is the coffee bill.
The coffee bill. With that, let me hear the member 001, Honorable Ole Sangok David.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I rise to support this motion, but I would like to caution this House that debt is a cancer that will eat our future, and that Kenyans are overburdened by this debt that we borrow left and right and don't invest wisely, because those sitting in the apex are dynasty who have never known how to invest. They know how to ingest. Hawajui kutafuta, wanajua kutafuna. Honorable Speaker, in quotes. So, Honorable Speaker, why we are not getting value for our money?
Honorable Sankok, for your guidance.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
You have been in this house for the longest time.
Yes, Honorable
And for
Speaker.
long.
Yes,
you
Honorable.
cannot use two languages at once.
Yes.
If you start debating in English,
Yes, Honorable.
please do it to the end. I wish I should not be the one directing you to this matter. If you start in Kiswahili, do it to the end. For this matter, you are out of order. You are using bad language, but
Thank you.
Please carry on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Even though I didn't get your attention because I had said, wanajua kutafuna, hawajui kutafuta. And then I put in quotes, you know, I put it on the air in quotes. So, Honorable Speaker.
You never did it. Honorable Sankok.
Yes, Honorable
Sankok, you are out of order.
Thank you, Honorable
You
Speaker.
are out of order.
Accepted.
Carry on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I think you should protect me from Honorable Gedi Fatuma. She have just said that I don't have manners. And if there is somebody who don't have manners, it's well known, it is Fatuma Gedi. She is on record. So you should actually try to avoid. You know, for us as pastoralists, we rarely argue with women. Honorable Speaker.
Order, order, order.
For respect, we respect women. We don't argue with them.
Order. Now you are welcome. Let me hear Honorable Gedi. Order. Which women?
Madam
And which
Speaker.
women do you argue with?
Madam Speaker, is Honorable Sankok in order to call me a woman? Because I'm not a woman, I'm a leader, and I'm a honorable member who have been elected by the people of Wajir. Secondly, he said, I told him, I said he has no manners. Can he substantiate, Madam Speaker? Because I've not told him that. And he should stop lying. He should stop lying, because that is his behavior, Madam Speaker. Yeah. Can he substantiate, Madam Speaker, and prove that, indeed, I told him he had no manners? Because I didn't say those words.
Honorable
And it is true, he has no
Sankok,
manners.
the only person, or the only anybody in the house who should address the speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable
Do
Speaker.
not address honorable member.
Yes. Okay. But Honorable Speaker,
And from where I am,
I
you're
did
out
not,
of order.
I did not call her a woman. I said we don't argue with women from my culture because we respect them, because they are our mothers, they are our sisters.
Order, order.
With our wives,
This
we
house,
respect
order.
them.
Can you resume your seat first? Honorable Sankok, for your direction and information. You are out of order. In this house, we elect both men and women, disabled. So any woman will be in this house. A disabled person will be in this house. A man and a woman will be in this house. I'm just trying to be soft-spoken to you. So please, you are out of order to address Honorable Gedi, that where you come from, we come from different places, different regions. So that's the voice of your region, we respect it, but this house has members from different women and different regions. And I'm sure you have a woman in your house. Please carry on and be in order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. From where we came from, we still respect women so much, because they are our wives, they are our mothers, they are our sisters. And I did not call any honorable member a woman. And if they want us to call them men, well and good. So, Honorable Speaker, I'm saying increasing the debt ceiling is really a burden to the Kenyan citizen. And we should be wary of Kenyan citizens who are now circulating what we call hashtag lower food prices. And you can trace this increase in food prices to the burden of debt that we have in this country. So, Honorable Speaker, as we pass these bills, I implore upon our leadership in the House, led by the majority leader, that let us be sensitive to Kenyans. Let us listen to the cry of Kenyans. They are sleeping hungry, they are sleeping without food, they are unable to pay rent, they are unable to pay school fees. Let us be sensitive to them. I do support.
Can I have the member for Kitui Central, the Honorable Dr. Makali Molu?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You spoke to this?
Yeah.
Very well. If you never spoke to this, you have the floor. Yes?
I have not. I'm just, I was, the other one was point of order, where I was seeking clarification.
Honorable Makali Molu, if you...
So, Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this important motion, the motion on medium-term public debt management strategy. This is a very important document, Honorable Speaker, basically because as a country, we are operating in an environment where we are spending more than we are able to generate locally. So this document becomes very important, and if you read through it, Honorable Speaker, it's a 3-year medium plan. That is, the expenditure is projected for the next 3 years, and it indicates what level should be. And Honorable Speaker, the reason why it was important the majority leader moves its amendment and change the committee report is because in the committee report, we had actually put specific figures and also percentage. But what is critical to note, Honorable Speaker, is that whatever figures are in the Budget Committee report, and whatever figures are in this document, and whatever figures were in the BPS, were all projections. As at now, Honorable Speaker, the officially reported public debt in the country is 8.2 trillion. This House, in our own wisdom, did put the ceiling at 9 trillion. There's a projection to borrow additional 400 billion by June, and that is a projection. So the reason why it was very important that we do away with the figure of 400 billion, Honorable Speaker, is because we might get to June 30th, and we may not have borrowed the projected 400. If we would have borrowed only additional 200 billion, then it means there will still be a room, what I will call a leg room of about 600 billion. And to me, that's why it's very important that as a House, we have a law, an existing law saying the debt ceiling is pegged at 9 trillion. And then leave the executive to do their work of borrowing so long as they don't exceed that ceiling of 9 trillion. And that's why we were saying the other day, Honorable Speaker, the executive has a number of options. They can do quite a number of issues. The first one, Honorable Speaker, the executive can become more aggressive and collect more revenue. That means if they collect more revenue, then they can still operate within the ceiling of 9 trillion. The second option is whereby the executive might decide, as they bring their annual estimates, they drop some programs and projects and defer them to the next financial year, implying they'll have created some room to be within the 9 trillion. The other important option, which the executive can do, the executive might also decide, Honorable Speaker, to engage on what we call cost cutting or cost saving or expenditure reduction, where they go through, through the budget, look at the projected recurrent budget, and see where areas where they can make savings. Honorable Speaker, you analyze the budget of the government. There's a lot of money on training, a lot of money on entertainment, a lot of money on areas where you could easily save without really anybody getting in the country getting hurt. And so what we are saying, Honorable Speaker, the work of deciding how much what to do to reduce borrowing is the work of the executive. It's not the work of this parliament. That's why we are saying for us what we should be keen on is let's agree as we move through the future, we'll ensure that the ceiling does not go beyond 9 trillion. And where it goes beyond 9 trillion, then we would expect a motion which proposes amendment to the ceiling, which this House must also approve. So really, for me, Honorable Speaker, I support this, and I look forward to a situation where this House now becomes very keen on scrutinizing the annual budgets and whatever budget will come to us, so that the 9 trillion figure is not actually breached unless we have an amendment to the existing law. I support, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Very well. The Honorable Member, Honorable Makali Muli, support. May I have the member for Emuaya, representative of the people of Emuaya, and that is Honorable Milemba Omboko.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to make a few comments on this report on the medium-term debt management and everything else that incorporates the issues of debt. One, Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate even the earlier debate we had on the amendments, which brought light to the sensitivity of the Kenyans and the people, that we are now very conscious about debt because it's in the public domain, and that every Kenyan is conscious that possibly we should manage the debt ceiling at the same time that we should manage how we borrow and even how we use the money we borrow, so that this borrowing does not hinder or in fact infect or affect the economic recovery of this country, having come from the COVID pandemic. Honorable Speaker, I wish to say that this report talks about relieving the expensive debts in favor of cheaper debts. This is very good, because we know and we are aware that some of the many debts that we have are very expensive debts, having been borrowed from institutions that otherwise do not give favorable terms in terms of the rates and interest that are paid on these particular debts. And therefore, that is the way this country needs to go, so that we go back to the old regime where we'd borrow from the World Bank, would borrow from the IMF, possibly borrow from the London Club and the Paris Club, as it were, because these are known lenders internationally which do not charge interests that are very high. And I love this coming from this particular report, that we shall be able to relieve those expensive debts and replace them with cheaper debts and even possibly elongate the time that we shall pay them. Honorable Speaker, we know of countries in history that did borrow and ended up over borrowing and were auctioned by those who had given them the money. The very earliest, Honorable Speaker, was the leader of Egypt called Hedi Ismail, who ended up auctioning Egypt as a country. But in the recent history now and circumstances, we have Greece, which lost its internal independence because of extreme borrowing. Honorable Speaker, this report also talks about reduction of the cost and risk of debt, which I want to support so that we don't put our country on wire because of the high debt. Honorable Speaker, this report talked about the need to consider the present generation and also consider the future generation while borrowing. This is very important and is marked in the Constitution, that as we do the borrowing, we should not do it recklessly, so that we shall leave those who will live in future with such a higher debt while we'll have gone away. And therefore, this is something we need to emphasize, because as it stands today, those young Kenyans being born and those living have a very high debt of over 250,000 that they will have to pay. It's very important that those of us who are now borrowing now consider those who will live in future, so that they are able to also live in a better Kenya. Finally, Honorable Speaker, this report talked about consideration of foreign debt versus local borrowing. I would wish to caution that as we do the local borrowing, we should do it in a manner that we don't make the local banks stop giving Kenyans loans. We need to go back to the economics of Mwai Kibaki, who actually made very many Kenyans success loans, teachers in particular and other workers of this country. The borrowing should not be done in such a way that the government is not doing all the borrowing locally, so that the local Mwananchi cannot get facilities. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this chance, and I support.
Very well. Let me have the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, member for the Ragwa, for debate. Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, the Ragwa, for debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would want to, I don't know whether contribution or point of order. Point of order.
You're in my request list.
I wanted to go on a point of order, number 95, that what we have, Madam Speaker, but let me just make my contribution. I see protestation coming from my senior, Mr. Nyikal.
Record, you are making your contribution.
Thank you. I want to support the motion, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, and say that it is important that when we have motions of this nature, that we avoid, even if we want to have populist positions, it is important that we avoid propagating lies from the floor of the House, using this opportunity as a way of pushing a propaganda. This has been done for the last 4.5 years. Kenyans have been misled. Kenyans have been lied to. And Madam Speaker, the motions that are before us, when you talk about money issues and raising the debt ceiling with a lie, it actually informs the public the long way. It is true that Kenyans have a problem because of the high food prices that are there. The government has made its own intervention measures, and it is important that we continue having interventions that can help the public, but we avoid using this for populism reasons. And I want to say that we have been here before, and those who have chosen to go the populist route find it very short in Parliament. You exit very quickly because people get to know of how quickly you tell lies. But, Madam Speaker, I want to support the motion and ask that we approve it. It is a well thought out thing. We want to thank the Budget Committee for the work that they have done. And of course, we are waiting for the other papers that are going to bring so that we can make use. I support, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Very well, you support. Can I have the member for Seme?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I rise to oppose. Madam Speaker, from where I sit, and even in terms of the general population of the people of Kenya, I would not be comfortable sitting here to debate any bill that seeks to increase debt, Madam Speaker, and increase the burden to the Kenyan people. And I say so because, Madam Speaker, currently we are debating about increasing or giving a leeway for the Treasury to borrow in the tune of 400 billion Kenya shillings. But, Madam Speaker, currently, even as we seek that we borrow 400 billion Kenya shillings, we are not even sure. No one in this House, Madam Speaker, is actually sure about the debt levels of this country. What we get is conflicting figures. When you go to the budget office here in Parliament, the figure you'll get is different from the figure you get from Treasury. And, Madam Speaker, even aggregating what is reported by the Central Bank of Kenya, and you add even to what we know definitely is also debt in terms of PPPs, in terms of guarantees, and others, Madam Speaker, we are already in excess of the limit that we have set here in this Parliament. And therefore, Madam Speaker, our country needs financial prudence. Madam Speaker, we need physical prudence. The kind of figures we have been seeing, Madam Speaker, from the Treasury, and especially through the debate that we are having this afternoon, Madam Speaker, shows a lot of imprudence insofar as budgeting for this country is concerned. We have borrowed, Madam Speaker, actually over-borrowed beyond the limits set here in this Parliament, and I was actually sitting here wondering the debate we had earlier, Madam Speaker, because we ought to be discussing, Madam Speaker, on how to punish those people who have made this country borrow beyond the legal limits, Madam Speaker. And therefore, Madam Speaker, as I oppose, it is good for us to know that currently, every human being in this country, including a child born today in Kiharu, is born with a net borrowing of 280 and 55,000, Madam Speaker, around their neck. This is a person who have never used any public service, Madam Speaker, who is born already with debt, purportedly debt that has been channeled into making the livelihoods of people of Kenya better, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, the 255,000 per capita debt that every citizen of Kenya carries is not commensurate to the major development that we have seen, Madam Speaker, from this regime. Majority or most, the big population or proportion of the monies we have borrowed, Madam Speaker, has been stolen. Even the 400 billion we are discussing today, more than half of it, judging by history, judging by the recent past, will be stolen. And therefore, Madam Speaker, that is why I cannot support anything that adds on the burden to the Kenyan people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we need to be mindful of a few things, even as we talk about public debt. Number one is the issue of cost. The kind of money we borrow in this country, Madam Speaker, currently, even by eliminating the guarantees, we are just around 4 billion local borrowing, that is domestic, and 4 billion or thereabout, give or take, that is foreign borrowing. Madam Speaker, the cost at which we borrow is way beyond sustainability, Madam Speaker, and is way beyond sustainable levels. Madam Speaker, the 10-year yield here in Kenya, both given by the government of Kenya, is more than 10%, Madam Speaker. If you compare the same to other countries, it is much lower. The other thing, Madam Speaker, even as we talk about domestic borrowing, the over 4 billion Kenya shillings borrowed locally by the government of Kenya would actually be more appropriately allocated if it is in the pockets of the private sector. What we have been doing is crowding out.
Honorable Member for Kiaru, we have a disruption on intervention by the Honorable Member for Kilome, the Honorable Zambia Kithua. Honorable Zambia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Yes, I rise to support the motion pursuant to Article 95.
Are you on debate or you intervention?
I'm on intervention.
Very well, thank you.
Pursuant to Article 95, you can call the mover to reply.
Pursuant to Standing Order 95, you're intervening for us to call the mover to reply. Very well, before that, please, can I allow, members, let me allow the Honorable Ndidi Nyoro to finish his debate, and then I will prosecute your intervention.
Madam Speaker, the kind of borrowing we have been doing domestically is crowding out our private sector. And that is why, Madam Speaker, even our revenue collection is not commensurate to our GDP figures, Madam Speaker. Because the enterprise, the private sector in this country, Madam Speaker, has been battered, Madam Speaker, because the money they should be borrowing at favorable rates to channel into productive sectors what they do, that money, Madam Speaker, is borrowed by the government of Kenya. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, the private sector allocates resources more prudently than the GOK. That is why, Madam Speaker, I rise to oppose the proposals, Madam Speaker, and any other that will come in terms of increasing the debt levels in this country, primarily because what we borrow, Madam Speaker, is stolen by our leaders, and a good example is actually the expressway that we are building here.
Honorable Ndidi Nyoro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was trying to make a point that even as we debate about borrowing 400 billion, there are glaring examples of how imprudently public debt has been misused, Madam Speaker. And one is just outside here in Parliament. A road that President Kibaki budgeted to be built at around 25 billion Kenya shillings. President Uhuru Kenyatta is building the same road, the exact
Please,
same road.
Relevance. Relevance.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Relevance.
It is relevant because this road is under PPP, Madam Speaker, and the guarantee is the government of Kenya, and therefore, essentially, it is debt. A highway that was to be built at 25 billion is now costing in excess of 80 billion. That money is stolen, just like the other majority proportion of our public debt.
Honorable Dininyoro, there's a point of what Suba North. When you say it's stolen, please can you present? Are you able to substantiate?
Madam Speaker.
But let me hear. Your 1 minute. Let me hear from the member for Suba North. Your intervention.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, is the honorable member in order to infer improper motive on a person who is not on the floor of the House by suggesting that money is stolen? Can he please substantiate or withdraw? And in substantiating, you do not substantiate by innuendos. You present the standards in this House is you present documentation of theft, Madam Speaker, and not just innuendos. And Madam Speaker, I just want to raise the same concern that Honorable TJ Kajwang has raised, that we are giving too much leeway for people to make innuendos, to cast aspersions, without taking any very stern action against them.
Very well, Honorable Millie Odhiambo.
They are not doing well in opposition.
You are doing very well as a member on intervention. It's a house of debate. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, as a speaker, having listened to you, please can you substantiate in terms of presentation of documents, or you withdraw that the road was stolen?
Madam Speaker.
The word stolen.
Madam Speaker, respectively, what I stated before this House is that there is public information.
Honorable Didi Nyoro, you cannot rely on public information. Can you substantiate? And the Speaker will be okay with you.
Madam Speaker,
in fact,
of
I
President
added 1
Kibaki,
minute.
Madam Speaker, with all due respect, kindly.
Honorable Dindi Nyoro, please can you substantiate about the stealing? We cannot come to this House, and members, we will be very firm on this, that you must not do politics. If you're able to substantiate, the House will look at it. Can you substantiate that the road, whatever it is, was stolen? And the word stolen, which is unanswered.
Madam Speaker, that's what I'm doing.
You either substitute through presentation of papers,
Madam Speaker, I'm doing
or you withdraw and apologize.
Madam Speaker, and I'm doing it very respectfully.
Very well, very well.
The cabinet of President Mwai Kibaki.
No. Let me guide you where I want you to substantiate.
Okay.
Just one sentence, and you make us make progress. I even added you 1 minute. It's a house of debate.
Yeah.
It's a house of debate, and from all sides, a speaker is non-partisan. Honorable Didi Nyoro, please, can you substantiate about the stealing, having used the word stolen? Just substantiate to the House. If you can prove that, very well. And if you're not able to prove it now, please withdraw. And proving is about presenting papers, presenting documentation, and presenting any information to this House that we can take to the
Madam Speaker,
matter.
How better will I do it without speaking? Because I'm trying to do exactly what you have requested, Madam Speaker, and I request respectively that kindly let me do it. And I was just trying to say.
Okay, number one, yes, very well. You're doing very well. But please, can you present the documentation for substantiation? Before I give you time
Madam Speaker, can I do it without speaking, honestly?
Can you present your substantiation of the same papers?
Without speaking.
You can present it to the clerk. The clerk is here.
Madam Speaker, I respect the chair, but at no time will I ever be boxed into debating in this House just to please anyone. I'll have to debate the way I came here to do. And I'm doing exactly that. And I'll never be boxed into singing choir to this regime. I'll never be boxed into singing praises to the president. He has stolen our money. That is the fact.
Honorable Didi Nyoro, don't push the speaker. You know when a speaker, honorable.
I am willing to pay any cost, Madam Speaker.
No, honorable. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, as a matter of procedure. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Honorable Millie Odhiambo, please resume your seat. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, please resume your seat. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, please resume your seat. The speaker is so guided, and I will not allow members not for procedure. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, on your own words, please, can you substantiate as a speaker? In terms, can you, Honorable Millie Odhiambo, I'll get to you. And I can tell you you're on point of order, but let me order. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, can you substantiate about stealing? The word is stolen, and I will not allow you to do you politics in this. Please, can you present the documentation? Present the evidence, as we call it in law. Can you present before you talk? I cannot listen to you if you have presented the evidence. Can you produce evidence on the same? Otherwise, I'll rule you out of order. But if there's evidence, I will listen to you. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, you either withdraw or substitute the same. Members, let us not use this chamber. And for as long as I'm here, I will not allow it. As a speaker, and I'm sure even all the speakers, the main speaker, we will not allow politics in the house. We are demeaning ourselves as members. This is a house of honorable members. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, I don't know whether I persuade. No, I want him to substantiate, present evidence. Just the way I would do. He can present, after present, I'll look at the documents, evidence, and we'll still continue. Present, present. Honorable Sankok, you are either, I don't know. Honorable Sankok, you're not on the floor. And on standing order number 91, honorable members. Honorable Sankok, I can hear from where you are. Honorable Sankok, I don't know what is happening to you of late. I do not know what is happening to you. You are not the only member in this house, as much as I respect you. And when you're speaking there, you're making noise. You had your time. You are actually out of order. Honorable Sankok, I know you are vying for a seat. I'm sure your members are also watching. You are out of order. Honorable Sankok, you are not Honorable Dindi Nyoro. Please allow Honorable Dindi Nyoro, the member for Kiaro, exercise his mandate of why he's in the house, and he has the floor to speak. And when he's so being directed, do not advise him. I think he's doing well. He's even, I don't want to say he's clever than you, but he's the one who has the floor to talk. So please do not look like you are advising Honorable Dindi Nyoro. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, members on the responsibility for statement of facts, which I'm ordering Honorable Dindi Nyoro, and which a speaker will do to any other member, that on 91, a member shall be responsible for the accuracy of any facts which the member alleges to be true and may be required to substantiate any such facts instantly. The speaker is using the standing order number 91. And so I'm ordering Honorable Dindi Nyoro, who is on the floor, to substantiate the facts on the same instantly. Honorable Dindi Nyoro, can you substantiate? Honorable Dindi Nyoro, please substantiate your statement on the same. We are guided by our own standing orders. Give Honorable Ndidi Nyoro the mic to submit the same.
Madam Speaker, and I'm doing it with a lot of respect. Given a chance, I'm willing to bring documentation, because they are public information, about the cabinet of President Kibaki that met and budgeted the expressway to a tune of just around 25 billion. This regime is constructing the same road to over 80 billion Kenya shillings, Madam Speaker. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I'm not just trying to play games, and you know I have a lot of respect for you. I can table the documents, I can table the evidence, Madam Speaker,
Very
given
well.
time.
Very well. In
Yes.
fact, I added 1 new minutes, which is over. Honorable Ndidi Nyoro, from the Speaker, with all due respect, I want to order this, that you either substantiate now on the allegations, the House of Hazard, or not later than the next sitting. The failure to which you, Honorable Ndidi Nyoro, you'll be deemed disorderly. And of course, this will be within the standing order number 107. That is disorderly conduct. You may choose to withdraw your allegations, or you give us apology, that is the House, as I did require. So your minute is over. I order that before the next 16, please, can you present your evidence on the same? Otherwise, your matter will be looked at that if you do not apologize, and these are your standing orders, that pursuant to our standing order number 107, the member you did Nyoro, you'll be deemed to have been or having a disorderly conduct. And this to you, not another member to advise you. Every member represents a different constituency. Please allow not the other members mislead you. So I do order. We are unanswered with all due respect. Very well. And your time is over. Very well, Honorable Ndidi Nyoro, you stand ordered. Can I have the Honorable Member for Tigania West? Yes, there was a point of order. Of course, I'm still consulting. And of course, I interrupted the Honorable Member just for me to be able to give time for the Honorable Member for Kiaro, Honorable Ndidi Nyoro, to complete his debates. We had an intervention on standing order number 95, calling upon the mover to reply. And so the Honorable Member for Kilome was orderly as per our standing orders and procedures that he called student standing order number 95, calling upon the mover to reply. The members, from where I sit, I just put the question. And members, following the intervention by the member for Kilome, to call upon the mover to reply with the question, which is that, may the mover be called upon to reply. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? And as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. May I call the mover to reply?
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I want to say thank you to all the contributors. We have heard your sentiments, and for sure, these are some of the issues that we will take into consideration when we will be bringing the estimates. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm to this House that we are a responsible committee, we are a responsible House, and you make sure that nothing is done against the law. I had some insinuation by some members claiming that we have, altered the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling can only be altered through this House and through, proper channels. And if it ever happens, then definitely to follow the proper channels. We will make sure that we remain within the ceilings, and we will make sure that we remain within the laws. Honorable Speaker, I want to also give my thanks also to the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee who have taken a lot of time to go through these medium-term debt strategy, Honorable Speaker. For the first time, Honorable Speaker, we have presented it as a separate motion. In the past, it was combined with the BPS. So for the first time since 2012, this one has now been brought as a separate entity. So with that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply. Thank you.
You beg to pray very well. Honour members, on motion number 10, that is the report on the medium-term debt management strategy for the financial year 2022-2023. I want to order that we defer putting of the question on the same, guided by our standing orders. Next order.
Order number 11, the Coffee Bill, Senate Bill number 22 of 2020, second reading.
On motion order number 11, can I have the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock? The chairperson, Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock, to move the second reading. Is in the house? Yes, very well.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I beg, Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Coffee Bill 2020, Senate Bill number 22 of 2020, be now read a second time. By way of introduction, Madam Speaker, the Coffee Bill 2020, Senate Bill number 22 of 2020, sponsored by Senator Njiro Ndwiga, Chairperson of Senate Committee of Agriculture and Livestock Fisheries, was passed by the Senate with amendments on 5th August 2020 and transmitted to the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, the principal object of this bill is to provide for development and regulation of coffee industry in Kenya. The bill proposes and reorganizes the coffee industry by transitioning the regulatory and commercial roles currently undertaken by the Agriculture, Food and the Coffee Board of Kenya. Madam Speaker, the bill further seeks to transition the research of coffee currently undertaken by Coffee Research Institute under the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization to the Coffee Research Institute. Madam Speaker, the House also had a similar bill, the Coffee Bill 2021, National Assembly Bill number 17 of 2020, sponsored by the Leader of Majority Party, Honorable Dr. Amos Kimunya, MP, which was read for the first time on 8 June 2021 and was committed to the committee. Madam Speaker, the principal object of the National Assembly Bill was to provide for the development, regulation, and promotion of coffee industry, to provide for establishment powers and functions of the Coffee Board of Kenya. Madam Speaker, the committee conducted public participation on the Coffee Bill 2021, National Assembly Bill number 17 of 2021. Invitation to submit comments to the bill was placed to the newspapers in the newspapers on the 12th June 2021, and the committee then conducted public hearing on the 3rd and 4th September 2021 in Machakos, Nandi, Kericho, Kirinyaga, and Bungoma counties. Madam Speaker, the Machakos County, the committee conducted public hearings and received written submission. In the Machakos County, let me repeat that, The committee conducted public hearings and received written submission from the following stakeholders: National Coffee Cooperative Limited, Machakos Cooperative Union Limited, Musuini Farmers Cooperative Society, Kwamatingi Farmers Cooperative Society, Kilalani Farmers Cooperative Society, Kialuni Farmers Cooperative Society, Muatati Farmers Cooperative Society, Idheni Farmers Cooperative Society, Kamathanga Farmers Cooperative Society, Kakunyi Farmers Cooperative Society, Kitiwi Farmers Cooperative Society, Kikima Farmers Cooperative Society, Madhuzuni Farmers Cooperative Society, Mupati Farmers Cooperative, Musulili Farmers Cooperative Society, Tendolani Farmers Cooperative Society, Musokari Farmers Cooperative Society, Kasinga Farmers Cooperative Society, Misikawani Farmers Cooperative Society, Kizangini Farmers Cooperative Society, Mungalana Cooperative Society, Mulilini Farmers Cooperative Society, Kwakinywa Farmers Cooperative Society, and Kenya Coffee Production. Yes, Madam Speaker.
For my bill, we have an intervention on a point of order by the Honorable Millie. Millie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I do apologize for the Honorable Member that I'm interrupting him when he's moving a very important bill. Madam Speaker, you know a lot of the people in this country survive on coffee, and Madam Speaker, you know a lot of people, even in this house, were raised on coffee. Madam Speaker, that is why it is very sad and regrettable that we actually have members from those coffee growing areas out of the country when we are raising such an important bill, creating quorum. We don't have quorum, Madam Speaker. We do not have quorum. I'm raising a quorum issue under the standing order number 35. We do not have quorum. We don't have quorum.
Very well. Now you are right on the issue of quorum. We don't know who is out of the country and our members, unless you want me to have you substantiate, because we are not aware who is out of the country. But now, before I went there, what I hear now is the quorum issue. Yes. The quorum issue which I've had, and I do order on the same standing order. Please, clerk, can you establish that we do not have the quorum for me? Please establish that we do not have quorum for us to be able to establish before I call upon the bell to be rung. Very well, from the clerk and the sergeant at arms, honourable members, I need to confirm that we only have 24 members in the House, and so is the Honourable Emilio Dambo right to rise on the standing order to have that we have no quorum, and so I do order the quorum bell to be rung for 10 minutes, members. All the members, the whips should be well advised. The whips and the sergeant at arms should be advised on the order for quorum bell being rung. It's only the whips who are allowed to move out to the chamber, honorable members. The quorum bell will be rung for 10 minutes. Again, as a matter of procedure, guided by our own standing orders, honorable members in the House are not allowed to leave the chamber. Order, Sergeant at arms. No member is allowed to leave the chamber unless he's a whip. Or she is a whip. Honorable Mutunga, thank you. He was consulting with Honorable Member for Kilome, the Honorable Zambia. Honorable Emilio Odhiambo, Honorable Emilio Odhiambo, Honorable Emilio Odhiambo, you are out of order. A senior member of this House, for you to cross over, please can you do the necessary? Honorable Emilio Odhiambo.
She can't leave. She's the one who does this.
Honorable Emilio Odhiambo, please do the necessary. We are not allowed to cross over. Very well, very well.
You almost lost 1 minute. What was the issue? Yes, hiyo kegere mkishika tutasema ikuje hapa. Unafinyia tu hapa. I have to ask. Mzuri endelea. Watu wako lakini kama wataki kuja. Yes.
Order members, order members. Honorable Sangok, please can you resume your seat? Order members. We had sought for the quorum bell to be rung for 10 minutes. Out of the minutes, the 10 minutes are over. And some members querying about why they cannot leave the house. But really, as a speaker, it's also important for me to guide you why you are not be allowed to leave the house. We are guided by our own standing orders, which you may want and wish to refer. Standing order number 35, that I've rehearsed calling the quorum bell. On 35.3, that the speaker or the chairperson, as the case may be, engage in counting the house or the committee respectively, the doors shall be, or they remain unlocked, for no member shall be allowed to leave the chamber. Please refer to your own standing orders. Except a party whip who may be permitted to leave the chamber to seek for members required to raise the quorum. Members, Honorable Sankok. Honorable Sankok. Anasema amekazwa na mkojo. Can hear him. Honorable Sangok, kama umekazwa na mkojo. And that is the word you have used. I can still use my discretion to allow you out. But now that you are in order, members, that is the basis that we don't allow members to leave. But I must report to the House that we have not been able to get the requisite numbers for the quorum for us to be able to move. And so I will adjourn the House based on the same. So that we can have the Honorable Sonko, a very active member of the House. I may not understand what he said, but he's in order. In fact, he chose to remain. So, honorable members, the time being 6:08 p.m., this House stands adjourned until tomorrow, the Wednesday, 2nd March 2022 at 9:30 a.m. So ordered, and thank you all.
Not to work.